Right, update time. And hasn't this been slightly more challenging than what I imagined? Anyway. Right, so the solenoid turned up, so I went and picked it up, plumbed it in, had it plumbed into that line which pushes the ram in, obviously, to pull the hitch up. Now, when I first went to use it, it would pull this up without engaging the solenoid, and then it would not come back down of its own accord, because obviously even with the breather on that one there was no way for the pressure to return back. So I thought, fine, I'll go and get another hose, because what I did was teed in the hitch ones for there and there. That's I think that's the lift one. Yeah, that's the lift side, that's the downward stroke. So I had that plumbed up to there, and I had that plumbed for the return line, and it would still do the same thing. It would come up, lock up, couldn't get it to even go down and do anything. Head scratching, what the hell do I do? So I wasn't sure whether I had the solenoid wiring right, whether the two solenoids trying to work off the same circuit would do or not. So the next morning, yesterday, I decided I would hook this up to a small 12-volt battery, just to see whether it was working or not, and got it to work, but it would come up and go down, but it was locking on the downstroke with the pin lock, because I just ran a toggle switch off of here so that was working, and it would lock down, not up. So a little bit more investigating, and assume nothing in the world, because I assumed that this one, being the pin lock, coming off this one and going that way, I assumed that it locked the pins from opening, which, as you can see, that's pulling up to open the pins. So I assumed that when you did that, it let the oil in there to pull the ram in, to pull it up, obviously, but assume nothing. That solenoid there is actually on the return stroke. Quite simple. Undid that, pulled on the hose, and it was that one that it was pulling on, not this one. So next step was I had to reverse them. So this input line here, rather than coming off of the raise side, had to now go to the down side. and so that one had to go the other way. Now, put a needle valve in line as well, so that when you lift the thing and you lift the latching mechanism, that when you let the ram down, the latching mechanism doesn't disappear in straight away first and re-latch it. Had to massage these slightly so that when the boom, sorry about the glare, when the boom is fully up, it virtually nearly touches those at the back, because obviously they're 2 inches longer than what they were before. But everything's fine, doesn't hit them. All I did was just give these a little tap down and that seemed to work. So I knew I had it working, technically, in a sort of fashion. So I plugged the solenoid back into the circuit for the pin lock button on the dash, or on the console, and it's a wonder you couldn't hear me jumping for joy yesterday afternoon, or around this time yesterday, lunchtime, whenever it was, when the bloody thing actually worked. Absolute amazement, elation, but there's always a but. And this one had me stumped for a little while. Lift it up, pin lock up, that all worked. Ram down, this ram went back down. Then came the next problem. When this was down, there's too much pressure on here, so that as you're lifting the ram, it was getting stuck on the bottom of the locking pins and couldn't push past them like it spring loaded is meant to, like that. 'Cause when you lift the ram right up and you lift the other ram now, or the cable as it used to be, that's what you're unlocking whilst you let okay, sorry about that, had to take a phone call. So yes, back to this. That is what it's meant to do. And being spring loaded, both sides, springs in there, it has to be able to push it out the way for this to raise. Otherwise, when that had pressure from the ram on it, it would not let it do anything. So you couldn't lock it, because then when you unlock this again to get the ram up, the ram went down before this went back in, which is the whole point of that mechanism being able to do what it does. So what the friggin' hell do you do, I hear you ask, or what did I do? I did ring my local tractor mechanic, who's also a hydraulic shop where I got the ram and the hoses from, and asked his opinion, and of course he had no idea, because you can't sort of visualise these things over the phone. So I, because I was thinking of a hydraulic solution to let the pressure off, whether it be an accumulator somewhere in the line or something, or a return line back to the tank from that side of the ram. But then last night it came to me. well, yesterday afternoon actually. I thought, I can probably do an engineering solution to this one. So, voila, slotted clevis. You also notice that I got rid of the spring because I don't need the spring now because this is double acting, not single acting, so that's a waste of time. So I made that this morning. I had to cut this pin off from up here and lower it down because quite simply this ram pulls from the bottom of this pin, not from the top. So that will pull that up full travel that it had before. But then when it's down and spring loaded, so it goes back down by itself. If I do have an issue, I had envisaged, I only just cut it off previously, a couple of minutes ago, having another bit there and a bit there with a hole in it and a bolt, a bit of pipe there with a nut welded on it that the bolt would thread into, and putting a spring in there. If I have issues with it, because this thing can stick, these springs do get a bit of crap in them. Even with the cable, occasionally it would stick up. So that's an option. Whether it gives it too much spring power, I don't know. But at the moment, it's working without it. So the only thing left to do is give that a coat of paint, put some Loctite on there, and we are done. So, locked position. I will get Deputy Dog to come over. They flashed the screen too.
The Liberal National Party's
haven't been able to make the A go away, and I get this unlock symbol now. But I do know what gear I'm in now, as opposed to before. Right, so ram up. Oh, this is going to be slightly awkward because you do need two hands to do this, so you will have to bear with me on this one. Pin lock button, unlocked, ram up. Flick the switch, I don't have to get back in. Ram down. Ram down. Ram down. Now this is where I got caught before, that position there, without having the slotted clevis. When you'd lift it up, it would get to there and that would not spring back. So now when I lift it up, as God intended it to be. So, as much of a hydraulic nightmare that turned out to be yesterday and the day before, trying to sort it all out, also made a bracket up, bolts in to those two bolts there to bolt the solenoid up to. It fucking works perfectly. Woohoo! Why the Fucking hell, JCB, couldn't do that in the first place, you bloody knobs. Seriously. Why put a cable there, which you have to look into this mirror here from the cab to see your hitch down there. Where the hell do you think this cable lines up? Right in the way of the friggin' hitch. If you're going to put a cable on, why wouldn't you have enough brains to put the thing on that side where you're not looking? Anyway, now if I do feel like putting a rear view camera on, I've got that spot there that I can put a camera so you can see the hitch better. But yes, this is what you would expect on a list price $210,000, well, it was 12 months ago, machine. Not a fucking cable. What is this, the Stone Ages or something? All your competition top spec ones have rams to unlatch the locking mechanism on their hitches. Get with it, you dickheads. So I am more than pleased with how that turned out. Absolutely more than pleased. Couldn't be happier. Right, take 3. The apprentice is a bit slow learning here. Right, there we go, latched up. Hold the button the other way, you idiot. My God, good help is hard to find. Anyway, that's how that works. The apprentice just needs a few more lessons, but you can see how it works.